If language is a parasite, how do we reverse engineer it to where we can make it? What are the elements to make something highly contagious, make it spread very fast? Tonight's lecture topic is called cognitive virology. You already know that language spreads, it hijacks attention, it messes with people in ways that most people are completely unaware of in their lives. What is new and what matters is why that happens. Biology figured something out a very long time ago. Nothing about life moves as a whole. All of life, everything in biology moves as units of information. They're called genes through all life. Genes are just little packets of biological instructions, and whichever one replicates best survives. Culture works identically. An idea is a unit of cultural information. And we have a word for this that's been stretched like around the internet, and this is a meme. And I'm not talking about internet cat photos. A meme defines catchphrases and beliefs, narratives, worldviews, rules. So memes are to culture what genes are to biology, and they obey the identical laws. Religion's made up of memes. Politics is 100% memes. There's nothing else. Corporate culture, memes, family rules, memes, the voice in your head is full of memes. So once you see that, you stop asking, is an idea good or bad? And you start asking, is the idea fit? Fitness is what decides survival. Even if the idea is beautiful, even if it would save your life, truth is absolutely optional. But what's not optional? Replication. Memes don't care about your well-being. They care about getting copied, moving from mind to mind. And they do that by hijacking things that evolution has already built into your body. It's fear, belonging, authority, certainty, moral outrage, feeling smarter than somebody else. Every meme will go past a guard, guaranteed. For most of our history as humans, this wasn't really dangerous. In tribal societies, ideas spread vertically, parents down to kids. The elders passed it down to the tribe. So that's gone now. So now we have ideas that spread horizontally, instant, it's around the whole world, and the cost is zero. A meme can rot you from the inside out. It can distort reality, and it can still go viral. Algorithms just accelerated it. They amplify whatever replicates the best. Emotion always beats accuracy. Outrage will always beat nuance, and certainty will always beat humility. That's the evolution of a meme. Most of the ideas that you think that you believe, you didn't choose. You didn't debate your way into the idea. It replicated in you. And once a meme gets in, it starts developing a cluster. It starts metastasizing. They're self-reinforcing, they're self-protecting, and self-defending. So you didn't just get a belief. You got an immune system wrapped around it. That's why questioning something feels super dangerous if it's viral. Look at COVID. Literal facts will just bounce off of people. Genes care about lineage, and they're constrained by biology. Ideas behave a lot more like viruses because it hijacks our machinery that already exists. An idea can increase anxiety. It can fragment entire families. You've maybe seen it in your own. It can erode trust or destroy trust. It can collapse meaning like crazy, and it still spreads faster than anything in human history. Viruses do not care about your health. If the host suffers, totally irrelevant. So if the host burns down their relationships, they torch their career, they start going absolutely schizo bonkers, as long as the virus spreads first, it wins. It doesn't care. An idea gets inside, it reframes your whole past, it predicts your future, it provides you prepackaged villains, and it gives you belonging at the same exact time. And the problem is that viruses are not spreading randomly. They follow that replication cycle. You're going to start seeing it everywhere once you see the cycle in politics, families, school board, your HOA, and even in your own head. So I'm going to give you the entire loop first, and then we're going to break it down. It's 5 steps: attach, enter, replicate, defend, and transmit. So that's the virus cycle. That's the whole game. If one of those fails, the idea dies. If all 5 succeed, the idea owns the human. First one is attach. In attach, this is where we find a receptor. They're binding to what's already there. They start with emotion. You hear things like, if you've ever felt overlooked, or most people struggle with the same thing. In parenting, you might say, I know that you want to do the right thing, and I know this feels unfair. In leadership, you might say, I realize everybody's tired, and what we're going through feels really uncertain. That's attachment. No attachment, no entry. You don't get to step 2. And step 2 is entry. So let's do it. But once an idea attaches, it still has to get past the resistance part. This is typically where most people think persuasion is taking place, but it's not. Entry happens through shortcuts. Your brain has shortcuts built into it, and it's just using what's in place. So what are the shortcuts with entry? Everything about the fate model is just a mental shortcut to keep us alive. So you've heard, like, experts agree. Everyone's starting to see this. This is being suppressed. So the language doesn't convince anybody. It pre-approves the message. And then replicate is the next step here. Replication means the idea starts generating new thoughts inside of the host. It's going to help them explain their past. When you join a brand new cult, instantly that idea of the new cult already says, well, I've never succeeded any time before because I didn't know the secret alien technique and how to communicate with the aliens in Alpha Centauri or whatever it is. Step 2, it predicts their future. It's automatically working on the expectancy. Next, it reframes other people. Those other people are bad and we are good. Step 4 is defend. If I'm trying to start a cult, or I'm trying to get my kid to not eat Fruit Loops 6 times a day, I'm facing skepticism, doubt, and contradiction, right? It doesn't matter. Doubt is still there. It's just reinterpreted as evidence. So once we install this layer, arguing becomes fuel for the idea. Step 5 is transmit. Now the idea needs to leave the host and go into another person. Why do we share ideas? It makes us feel smart. It makes us feel good about ourselves or our past. It gives us a role. The moment somebody explains that idea to another person, the loop is complete. If you do understand it, we can stop ideas in the middle of infection when they're coming into our head. So here's how the virus system gets weaponized. If all stages meet the criteria, the idea spreads. So stage 1 is that receptor match. This is the attachment. Ensure the idea attaches to pre-existing human circuitry, not logic, as threat, uncertainty, social belonging, status comparison, relief-seeking behavior, moral tension, identity instability. So if the body doesn't recognize it immediately, the mind will not open. Stage 2, we call this the entry phase. Move the idea past resistance without triggering evaluation. If the listener feels persuaded, you fail. If the idea invites any debate at entry, you fail. So then we move down into stage 3. This is the replication phase, to force the idea to produce new thoughts autonomously, all by itself. The idea explains past experience without being prompted. The idea predicts future outcomes convincingly. The idea compresses complexity into a single frame. The idea feels like it connects a bunch of dots that the host or the subject already had. And then we get into stage 4. Doubt should be reframed and never removed. Then we get into stage 5. This is where we're going to anchor the identity. The idea must upgrade the host. Think about how this is done in politics. Left side, right side, both sides. They're shaping it into identity. Ideas spread fastest when they make the host feel more themselves. Even if it's making them not themselves, they just have to feel like it's themselves. COVID was the biggest coordinated mind operation that probably anyone alive has ever lived through. And I'm not saying nobody got sick. People died, hospitals were slammed, but the way that all that was handled and then amplified and then weaponized, that's 100% psyop layers. And that cognitive virus loop ran all of that like clockwork. So let's go through the process and talk about each one of these virus steps of exactly what we just laid out. First step is attachment, right? And this is the perfect storm. Everybody's already terrified. Remember, there's a pre-existing emotion. You felt like the world was going to end. There's an invisible killer. No one knows who's next. Jobs are vanishing. Kids are locked inside. There's fear and uncertainty and Relief seeking, remember we talked about relief seeking behavior, is cranked up to 11. The media is hitting this nonstop. But remember, they didn't need to invent the emotion for you. It was already screaming in every human being. And what's the next point on the viral process? We have entry. This is a textbook bypass. How do we do it? Trust the experts. Everyone's doing it. We have limited ventilators. You need to act now. Good people, if you're good, you're going to protect the vulnerable. The Pentagon is running anti-China vaccine disinformation operations, fake accounts. There's memes saying Sinovac kills babies. China's running counter operations, calling it a U.S. bioweapon. Both sides are seeding doubt and pushing compliance. How does it feel? Remember what step 2, how are we supposed to make it feel? It felt inevitable. Exactly how it was supposed to. This is the science. Put a mask on. There's no room for debate about this. So questioning got you labeled dangerous, which makes you 10x more likely to adopt an idea so an idea can flourish by itself. That's starting to get into immune suppression territory. And then the next piece, replication. Replication in the mind. That cough that I had last year, if you're thinking this in 2020, I had a cough like 8 months ago, COVID. It automatically predicts doom. The next wave is going to come unless everybody does X and Y and Z. We compress the entire messy, crazy, nuanced thing into 2 words. You're either safe or unsafe. It's just binary. Compress a huge idea into something very, very simple. It's exactly how it happened. And your brain starts running that. Now it's starting to do it by itself. It's replicating and it's doing it 24/7. That explains all these empty shelves. That predicts why governments aren't going to let go. People are literally having nightmares and dreams. You can look on Reddit about all these variants that might be coming out. That's it running on its own. That is replication to the extreme. That idea that doesn't need us anymore. It doesn't need the manipulator anymore. It's doing the thinking for them. And then what's the next step? Now we have defense. And this was master level. Doubt gets completely flipped over. If you're hesitant, you're killing someone's grandmother. If you're skeptical, you're a conspiracy nut. Resistance proves the threat. Protest spread it more. Contradiction made the narrative stronger. The lockdowns suck. It's a necessary sacrifice. There's a huge overreach on mandates. It's for the greater good. Doubt was eaten and shat back out as more compliance. So we eat the doubt. That's what they got us to do. You eat the doubt. So the next phase is transmission. And the transmission was locked to identity. This is when you have posts all over the world, and there's no judgment on anybody, but where people were posting vaxxed and boosted, the same, and it was a moral feeling, right? It was an identity and moral feeling. And you had people on television, on the news, saying that unvaccinated people should die. That's psychopath behavior. That is pure sociopathy and psychopathy. But it's because they were moral. It's because of identity was tied to all of that. You're moral, you're responsible, you're smart. I get to take this one thing and I automatically feel this. And you had these people that were purebloods that didn't get the vaccine. And how did they feel? Let's talk about them. I'm one of them. I felt superior and it worked on me. It manipulated the shit out of me. How did those people feel? I'm awake, I'm strong, all of this stuff, which is just total bullshit. Sharing what side you're on felt protective. People posted their vaccine cards. So the psyops vectors are everywhere. Social media psyops on both sides. Governments, pharma, militaries, all of them playing this huge game. So by 2022, it's not even about health. It's not about health. It's about control. Because what was the next part of the conversation? Digital IDs. I don't know if you remember this in the World Economic Forum. I pay kind of close attention to this stuff. Fear is harvested. Doubt is weaponized. Compliance is branded as virtue. That was a big end goal there. Energy siphon on a planetary scale. Both sides got super unbelievably stupid. It's like the entire world lost like 50 IQ points. If you study history, identical loop that took Rome down, took the Soviet Union down. It's just a lot faster and way more digital. Let's talk about how to see this live without becoming a psychopath. Everything we talked about explains why ideas spread. What you do when it's happening in front of you or when it's happening inside of you. Because knowing the loop intellectually is just useless, especially if your own nervous system freezes when it's happening to you. So I'm going to go down 2 things: how to spot the loop and how to use parts of it without setting the room on fire. Let's train your eye first. And I think once you know the loop, you're going to start listening for what's being said. And you're going to start listening for where you are in the cycle. That's the big thing. Where am I in the cycle right now? We really want to just get really good at diagnostics for the replication stage. The attachment part, you're just going to say, what is this hitting? First thing you ask yourself silently is this: what is this idea attaching to emotionally? Fear, belonging, relief, intellectual rightness, superiority, status. You're going to hear it in phrases like, people are scared to talk about this, or finally someone's saying it, or this explains why everything feels off. So the take home here is to burn it into your head. This isn't explaining, this thing is attaching to something. You find out what it's attaching to, and you get very, very dangerous and unmanipulatable. And then the entry. Number 1 question here is, what shortcut just got used? So we're looking for authority. All the experts are saying, all the doctors are saying, the social proof. Everybody knows it's obvious that X and Y and Z. Scarcity. This keeps getting censored. Everyone's taking this down. Watch this video before they delete it from the internet. I've clicked on a couple of those before. Or the moral framing. Good people understand stuff. So anything feels pre-decided. The diagnostic here is reasoning has not started, but agreement is being asked of me. There hasn't been reasoning, but I'm being asked to agree about something. Then we have the replication part. So the only question here is pretty simple. Is this thing generating new thoughts? Is this idea now explaining things that I wasn't thinking about? That's a big way to think about it. So internal reproduction. The idea is thinking for them now, for you. And then we have defense. And in the defense side, what happens if somebody questions this? What happens if somebody does that? What happens socially or emotionally if somebody disagrees? This is where doubt is being punished and not addressed. Some kind of bad thing happens with doubt, or they get you to eat the doubt. And then the transmission part. What does this turn me into? Or what does this turn them into? So what identity does this idea give the person? Enlightened, awake, good, moral, strong, on the right side of history. If an idea upgrades identity, it's going to spread, and it's probably bad. So the idea is recruiting vectors on its own. And then we go to disarm. So move number 1 is this epistemic pulling out. We're stepping outside of the frame. You're saying things and stopping it. Like, before we decide if that's true, how would we even know? Or you say, what kind of evidence would change your mind? That is a big sentence you should memorize just to keep in your pocket forever. And third, another big one, especially if you're involved in any negotiations or court stuff, or maybe you want to just use this on your spouse to slam them down to the ground. Who gets to decide what counts as proof here? That's a big one to get for that first step. The second piece is exposing the seal. You're just exposing what's going on. You might say, yeah, that's interesting, but disagreement is kind of being treated as evidence here. It sounds like my doubt, the doubt that I expressed, is being described instead of explored. Maybe I misread this. And one big one that you can keep in your pocket is, man, that idea seems to protect itself pretty aggressively. That one's great for like family reunions and stuff. Then we have identity separation. So we're giving permission to detach without any kind of loss. We might say something like, I shouldn't be allowed to question something without betraying who I am. Or if you're talking to somebody else, changing your mind doesn't make you weak. And I get that you're passionate about this, but you don't owe your loyalty to an idea. You don't have to marry this idea to take it seriously. Or you might say, I promise you can step back from that idea without throwing anything away. It'll still be there. Yeah, you can step back from this idea. It's fine to hold it loosely just for a minute. Or you can change your take without changing who you are. That's a big one, especially for somebody wrapped in identity. You can change your take, or you can change your ideas without changing who you are. Or you can say, I promise you that you're allowed to sit with this without having to pick a side. Or let me give one more that I really like is, nothing bad happens if you don't land on it and stick on it right now. And then making ideas stick. Here's the cleanest rule that I can give you. Ideas stick when they leave unfinished business in the mind. Every time. Unfinished business. And we talk about this when we talk about this every attorney. Make people feel clever, right? That's unfinished business because you get to put stuff together in your head. And that's where you say little small things, and this only makes sense in hindsight, or most people don't notice this until it costs them. So we're creating some kind of delayed replication mechanism in their head. If you're using it in parenting, let's just walk through these 4 steps and what it might look like in parenting. The attachment is like, I know you're frustrated and this feels unfair. Entry, everybody learns this at some point, and it's good you're learning it a lot earlier. And the replication would be, so next time this happens, what do you think you're going to do? So now they're generating the solution, and then we get into defense. I think it's totally normal to want to push back at first, and we don't punish the resistance. We're contextualizing the resistance. And then the transmission piece, when the kid explains the rule to their sibling, and you get them to do that. I wish I knew this 15 years ago. In sales, it's the exact same thing. We don't need to go through a bunch of demos of that stuff. In copywriting, it's identical. The attachments, like if you've ever felt overlooked, if you've ever felt like you've taken blah, 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 and it didn't work for you, then we have entry. Most people never notice this until it costs them. The replication, the reader starts connecting it to their own life. And then the defense, it's usually unnecessary in copywriting, but subtle framing is pretty good. And then the transmission. Somebody says, you have to read this, or you have to see this. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. In leadership, let's say we're in a leader situation and we want to talk to a group of people. We might want to say, the attachment first is, I know that morale's low, and I know that trust in the people at the top is pretty thin right now. Acknowledging something that's true in the present. And then the replication, here's the story that we're telling ourselves right now. We're surfacing something that's internal, bringing it to the surface. And then the defense. If this feels uncomfortable, I think that's good. So then we're reframing discomfort as some kind of a signal. Then we have the transmission. And this is team members repeating some of the language about you. And guess what else it works with? Self-talk. The way that we speak to ourselves. Let's go through a negative example. The entry point would be, this always happens to me, and I'm just not wired for this. And then the replication is that starts explaining your past and predicting your future, right? So the replication is automatic. And the defense is, I'm just being realistic. I mean, if I look at it, it's true. I'm just being realistic about it. And then the transmission is when we teach it to our kids without realizing that we're doing it. That's when this work matters. Different situations, same words, or different words, same exact machine. We stop forever. You will hopefully the rest of your life. You're going to stop using like people are irrational. Kids are defiant. Buyers are cheap. Nobody can afford it. Employers don't give a shit. You start asking, where did replication fail? What receptor did I miss? What defense mechanism is kicking in? So there's a few steps to use this at a much deeper level. Imagine this working in psychiatry or caregiving, or you can use it anywhere. So if let's say there's a crisis and you're a leader, and I won't even name the system. I'm just going to go through a little talk that a leader might have and show you how a leader might do this with, let's say it's a small team and there's some kind of crisis going on. So let's say they're anxious and you step in. Here's what it sounds like. You might say, all right, I'm going to slow this down for just a minute. What I'm seeing isn't disagreement here. It's people trying to get their footing. And when things aren't clear, everybody starts compensating in their own way. And that's where the friction comes from. It's always true. Here's what actually matters right now. There are 3 priorities this week, just 3. And if something doesn't touch one of those, it's not where we're going to spend any energy. So you're going to hear a lot of opinions over the next few days, and some of them are going to sound smart, and some of them are going to be persuasive, maybe urgent. That doesn't mean that we move on them. We stay with what's in front of us and we keep executing. And if part of you wants to push back on that, that's completely normal. It doesn't mean that anything's wrong. So let's do one more example. Let's say we're at like a social event or something, and we want to make somebody more open. How will we go through this exact process? You might say to somebody, you know what? These parties always hit that point where everybody's just performing. And I've got to admit, I've caught myself doing it too, just filtering a bunch of shit so I don't look a certain way. But it's like half the people here are running the same little mental checklist. Don't say anything too real or something might happen. But then somebody can just let go and the whole energy changes. And it's weird that so many people are waiting for some permission slip to stop pretending. But it's funny that once you notice it though, it starts connecting stuff on its own. Like those nights we hold back and they suck looking back on them, or the ones where we say, okay, and good stuff actually happens. And it starts predicting, wow, like if I finally just let it all go, I can feel alive instead of drained. But the mind keeps running that over and over and over, all to itself. And then sometimes there's that little, nah, what if they think I'm weird voice? And it always just pops up the moment right before everything drops. So that's identity hacking and the entire formula that we talked about. Before we wrap, just take a second, not to think about what you heard from me tonight, but to notice how things feel right now. Maybe a sense that something's settled. It doesn't have to be excitement or relief, just a little quieter, like something makes more sense. And I think that's what happens when a cleaner expectation replaces something that was sloppier. And you didn't have to agree with anything tonight. You didn't have to adopt a belief or take a side. Everything that happened is some things lined up in a way that they didn't before. If you feel any urge later to replay a piece of this or to test it against a conversation that you've had, or maybe explain it to somebody that you know that's totally normal, I think that's just what our brains do when they find a model that fits it perfectly. So you don't need to do anything with that. There's no action items, no homework, just to notice.
Authorities are reporting a citywide manhunt underway.
The world is breathing, a fragile sound. No echoes here, on sacred ground. A quiet pose, a steady beat, the truth we feel in simple heat. Barefoot steps on hallowed ground, a sacred rhythm we have found.
The world just breathes and I can feel it. A perfect promise, can't conceal it. Just shadows leaning on the light. Another beautiful quiet night.
The past is gone, but we remain, washing over all the pain. A simple truth, a feeling pure, a soft connection to endure.
The world just breathes and I can feel it. A perfect promise, can't conceal it. Just shadows leaning on the light. Another beautiful quiet night.